Now let us move on to the third game of this thrilling match between Predator Chiruta's team opening player Best Scholar Awardee winner Suraj Kumar versus Predator Kings team Last Hope Abdul Waris. Among these two players, who will rise to glory? Will Waris stop the unstoppable Suraj, or will Suraj complete his hat-trick today and write his name once again in giraffe chess history? Remember viewers, Suraj has already won 2 consecutive games. He is just one step away from becoming today's hat-trick hero. On the court now, Suraj Kumar, a 9 times hat-trick hero, Best Scholar Award winner, playing for Predator Chirutas, is ready with the white pieces, looking calm and confident. On the other hand, we have Abdul Waris, the Scholar Award winner, representing Predator Kings, is focused and determined with the black pieces. The clock is set now, the players are ready, and yes, we see Waris hitting the clock, and there we see the game 3 begins. Suraj starts with pawn to e4 and Waris with pawn to h6. The battle of hat-trick glory has begun. Suraj bishop to c4, Waris pushes pawn to e6. Suraj goes develop knight to f3. Waris moves around the board, playing pawn to a6. Suraj now goes in and plays giraffe to d3. Waris chasing white pushes pawn to b5. Suraj on the moves retreats bishop to b3, keeping it safe. Waris develops knight to c6, controlling central squares and supporting b5. Suraj now goes and retreats knight back to g1, planning a regroup for further actions. Waris thinking about his next move. Goes in on the board and develops giraffe to d6. Coordinating with his knight and pawns, Suraj now places queen on f3, targeting the king side. Waris mirrors with queen to f6, eyeing f2 and keeping queens balanced. Suraj slides queen to e2, stepping back but guarding key squares. Waris now goes on in the board and plays knight to d4, hitting the queen and bishop simultaneously. A sharp attacking move by Waris. Giving it a thought, Suraj retreats queen to d1, avoiding exchanges. Waris knight captures bishop on b3. Black seizes material edge with force. Suraj recaptures with pawn, opening a file and repairing structures. Waris retreats queen to d8. Consolidating after exchange, the queen keeps an eye on the black rank. Suraj pushes pawn to e5, kicking away defenses. Waris goes in on the board, retreats bishop to a7. Suraj now goes on the board and pushes pawn to c3, challenging black's strong knight square. Waris pushes pawn to b4, striking at white's knight position. Suraj moves queen back to f3, keeping pressure on the king side diagonals. Waris develops bishop to b7, reinforcing the diagonal towards g2. Suraj queen captures pawn on b7 with queen grabbing material bodily. Waris responds with pawn taking c3, hitting white's center. Black strikes back instantly to equalize. Suraj recaptures with pawn, strengthening central presence. Waris, thinking about his next move, retreats queen to b8, preparing counterplay. Back for the rank. It's a subtle yet powerful adjustment. This avoids unnecessary trades. Black keeps strong attacking prospects. Suraj goes in on the board, moves queen to f3, centralizing and keeping kingside threats alive. Waris pushes pawn to f6, challenging white's central pawn. Suraj now captures pawn on f6 with e5, opening the center. Waris recaptures with bishop on f6. Suraj now has to think fast, as the game is a very fast-paced game. Suraj thinking about his next move. Without wasting much time, he repositions his knight to e2, preparing to support attack. Waris retreats knight to e7, consolidating defenses. Bishop to g7, Suraj castles king side, ensuring king's safety. Waris develops bishop to g7. Suraj moves bishop to a3, targeting black's pawn. Waris now jumps knight to d5, centralizing the threats. Black's knight becomes a dominant piece in the center. Suraj pushes pawn to c4, and there goes Varis retreating his knight to b4, keeping pressure on the queenside squares. Black maintains active position despite being pushed. The audience notices Black's resourcefulness. Suraj develops knight to c3. Varis goes in on the board and jumps his knight to c2, invading White's territory. Suraj moves rook to a2, defending the consistency in the file. Varis, thinking about his next move, captures with knight at a3. Suraj recaptures knight with rook. Varis now has to think fast. He goes around the board, and as he goes, he moves his giraffe to b4. What will Suraj play now? Suraj has things on his mind. He doesn't want to waste much time, but he doesn't even want to rush in the game. He there goes on the board, and Suraj, thinking about his next move, picks up his queen and checks king with queen to h1, switching attacks to king side. Varis moves king to d8, stepping out of check. Black's king is slightly exposed but is safe now. Here we see Varis being a little confused between if he should castle or not, but he does not do the castle and goes on with king to d8. Suraj brings queen to f7, threatening decisive checks. White attacks insensitive pins black. Varis goes in on the board, thinking about his next move, blocks with rook on e8, defending key squares. Suraj captures pawn on g7, gaining material and opening lines. Varis, trying to stay calm in this situation, plays giraffe to c6. Suraj goes in and trades giraffe for giraffe on c6. Varis recaptures with pawn on c6, keeping central presence. Black has structured weakness but remains active. Suraj develops knight to d4, and Varis goes in and plays, thinking about it, and there he goes and plays giraffe to e5, challenging knight and controlling center. Suraj recaptures pawn on c6 with knight, giving check. Varis, thinking about his next move, he moves king to c8, escaping the check. Black keeps the king alive, but it's exposed now. Suraj goes on and captures rook on b8 with knight, winning material. Varis recaptures knight with rook, reducing some material defects. Black still under severe pressure. Suraj captures pawn with rook at a6. Thinking about Varis's next play, Varis moves his giraffe on b6, defending the key squares. Suraj repositions knight to b5, targeting c7 and queen side squares. Varis goes in on the board, thinking about his next move, and plays giraffe to e5, maintaining control and threatening tactics. Suraj captures on c8 with queen, giving check again. Varis moves king to d9, stepping away from the immediate danger. Suraj now goes in on the board, thinking about his next move. Doubles rook with rook to a7, tightening the net. Varis captures pawn with giraffe to d2, giving a check. Suraj immediately takes his king to safety at h1. White keeps attacking pieces while securing king. Varis moves rook to c8, hoping for the counterplay. Suraj checks with queen to f7, keeping pressure. Varis blocks with rook at e8, defending the key squares. Suraj jumps knight to c7, forcing king again. Varis moves king to e9, fleeing from the attack. Suraj captures rook on e8 with knight, winning major material. Varis recaptures knight with rook, reducing material, but position is lost. Suraj brings rook to d1, preparing for final mate. Varis now moves giraffe to c5, last defensive attempt. Suraj now has the pressure. He goes in, and there he goes, doubles the pressure of Varis with rook to d7, threatening mate. Varis now has to be very careful with his next move. Varis Goes in on the board, thinking carefully, moves his giraffe to b8. Desperate defense. Black is completely overpowered. Suraj delivers checkmate with rook to d9. White wins brilliantly with a perfect coordination. The game ends with a spectacular finish. Results: Suraj wins with checkmate in 42 moves. What a superb checkmate victory this was. Abdul Wari's Predator King's team is out and has lost this game. Suraj has now won 3 consecutive games, achieving a phenomenal hat-trick, has become the hat-trick hero of today's great match. And this marks his 10th hat-trick in the hat-trick league. Truly a remarkable record. Congratulations to Suraj and his team Predator Chirutas.